Hello and welcome. Sorry, I was turned away there for a second. Welcome to Living Spark, a project of the Spark of Humanity Network, brought to you through the courtesy of the good people at Orca Media. That's Onion River Community Access in Montpelier, Vermont. And I'm coming to you via the good people at Zoom from Southern California. I'm your host, Danielle O'Hallisey. And today we'll be talking about what we talk about here, which is this insight that there is humanity in all of us and that the spark of humanity grows when we recognize it in ourselves and recognize it in each other, that everyone's spark grows simultaneously in those moments. I like to start things off at first by making a short reading. There are some longer materials, none of them too odious, by the way. I mean, longer meaning a few pages long, on our website, sparkofhumanity.net. And this is sort of a statement of principle, I like to think of it as, and this is a bit of that. The insight that there is a spark of humanity in everyone is the foundation of the Spark of Humanity Network. We have discovered that as we connect with and affirm the spark in others, we are claiming our spark, our personal spark, and becoming agents of transformation. As we are engaged by life and moving through our experiences in this world, we sometimes notice that our sparks have become defended, distorted, or even baffled. However, we have found they can never be extinguished or corrupted. As we claim our sparks and connect with and affirm the sparks of others, it seems that the strengthened spark acts to erode the defenses, release the distortions, and clarify the bafflement. Now, there's more to that. And as I said before, you can find it on our website, sparkofhumanity.net. The purpose of reading that as a preface is obviously to set the tone, but also to talk about my homework. I break these sessions up into reviewing the homework that I gave myself the previous time. We meet every 2 weeks, and talking about how that has impacted my progress through life over the previous couple of weeks. And then we talk about a new topic, and I set myself more homework. That's always fun, as you're about to learn, because the homework experience this time was a bit baffling in and of itself. And yeah, so I've been talking about vulnerability the last couple of times, talking about defending ourselves, moving away from that which makes us uncomfortable, and while recognizing that sometimes things are uncomfortable for a good reason, they're threatening in a real, tangible way, and removal of oneself from those situations is perfectly appropriate. One needn't engage with someone else's spark if that person is threatening them. But I had an odd little interaction here. Talked about this the last time, which was a Thursday, as we always meet on Thursdays. And I spoke about I'm sorry, my cat is not going to let me go until I let her in. I don't know if you can hear her, but just a second. Speaking of vulnerability, my cat feels like the world is ending if she can't, if she hears me talking to someone and can't get in to join the conversation. Anyway, so yeah, ironically, I was talking about vulnerability and talking about my homework being to hold myself in a place of vulnerability whenever appropriate, to try to expand that and to do that as often as possible by trying to see the humanity in those I'm engaging with. And thought that just popped into my head. I've had a couple of people ask me, why do you even do this thing if relatively nobody's watching? I mean, I noticed that the YouTube thing gets a couple of views every time, and then beyond that, there isn't a big audience. But I had to think about that recently, and I came to the conclusion that I do this because I need to hold myself accountable if I am going to grow. And so my spark practice includes doing this live stream and then the various ways that you can connect with it afterwards. And believe me, if anyone's watching it live, call in. I would love to talk to you. I'd love to hear what you think. And even if what you think is that this is ridiculous, I'm ready to engage with that. But anyway, that just popped into my head. Vulnerability. And I've been looking at my own defense mechanisms, my own ways of deflecting others or deflecting my my attention to that should be directed toward someone else's humanity or to my own humanity. And yeah, I find that sitting when I know I'm with people, I play cards with a couple of ladies once a week, and I'll be sitting with them. It's all congenial, it's all lovely. But I'll start to ask myself just to take a moment and to look for where I'm defending myself, even amongst friends. What am I not saying? What am I not really didn't do my thing this time. I didn't shut off the alerts on my phone. So I'm going to do that. There we go. But yeah, so anyway, even in those moments, I'll ask myself, am I deflecting something? Is there discomfort in me that I am avoiding by being cute, funny, clever? Sorry, everyone, I'm trying to play cards. Don't talk to me, like those kind of things. And those are reasonable exercises. Those are productive exercises, I find, because, nobody's going to get angry, defend. If I space out for a second, we're all older people, and we all have to remind each other that, oh, it's your turn every once in a while, so that's not a good thing. But we talked about this last time. You see how I'm deflecting by giving more and more backstory, because this was very uncomfortable. I went to something in the city. I live close enough to Los Angeles to be able to go in as long as I don't have to drive. I went in to watch a television show, a couple of episodes on a big screen, and then the cast came out and watched them be interviewed. It's a lot of fun. There's a thing called Paley Fest in the spring, and I've gone to a few of these over the years. So I went with my daughter and her fiance, and we got there early enough. We went to dinner, and then we said, "Hey, let's take a little bit of a walk." We're right adjacent, just out the door of this building that the show is in, is the so-called Hollywood Walk of Fame, and then the footprints in the cement is also near there. Used to think that was the same thing. Turns out it isn't. But yeah, but that's all right there. So let's go outside and take a walk and look at all that. So we did. We stepped outside, and the first thing that happened to me was I was accosted by someone. Not I'm accosted. It sounds already like my hackles should be up. It was just people hand stuff out on the street, right? When I was young, it was very common for someone to go to a print shop and get like a stack of printouts, either of their, the end is near kind of philosophy, or, their political statements, or, they were handing out flyers for a restaurant to get a discount at a restaurant or something and being paid for it. And the thing you did, the habit I developed back then was to take the thing, thank the person, and the next recycling bin that you came across, the next trash can, whatever, you just threw it in that. That's kind of the easiest path to get through this uncomfortable situation in which I'm frankly not going to, yes, I'm going to admit another person. And yes, so by the way, if you're joining us via Zoom, just raise your hand and we can then unmute you, and you would be able to raise any questions or comments that you might want to bring in. So yeah, so I was at the Hollywood Walk of Fame, waiting to go into this big show that I was going into, very kind of exciting stuff. And this guy pushed up to me and he handed me this odd kind of flyer kind of thing. John, I'll get to your question in just a second. Let me just finish this part of my story and then we'll talk. The flyer said nothing. It was this little card made of the material that like a credit card is made of. And it was, it just confounded me. I just did not understand what the point of it was. It looked like it was a case of self-promotion. So I said, thank you. And I started walking away. And this guy said, it is customary to give a donation And I said, well, I don't have any cash on me. And then my daughter stepped up, and whatever was going on there, I don't understand it. But she said, no, you have to give this back if you're not going to give him a donation. I said, fine, like, here it is. And this man pivoted and was very, very angry toward my daughter. That felt like she was just a stranger that was interfering with his ability to make money. And then her boyfriend, her fiance, tried to explain it to me. He said, no, you don't understand, Danielle. You're expected to give a donation for this, please. And he took it and was handing it back. And now this person who's handing these things out on the street has become mildly threatening, and he begins looming. He's very tall, taller than I am. I'm 6'3". He starts looming over my future son-in-law and yelling at him that he's trying to make a living and all this stuff. It makes, like, I don't know what the point of this thing was that he was doing, but anyway, I gave this back to him, but he was clearly threatening and looming toward the other two people I was with. And it was this bizarre moment that I realized that he was, first of all, that he was a human being. But I also knew that I was the only person of the three of us that was safe. He wasn't threatening me, maybe because he thought I was still going to give him money. Maybe because I'm old and I was leaning on a cane, and he had recognized that somehow. But it was a bizarre situation in which I could take away a lot of lessons. I could take away the lesson that it doesn't do to be, to recognize someone's humanity, because that's what I was trying to do with him in that moment. The second that it felt like he was being threatening, I was trying to recognize his humanity. And that was my first reaction, because I'm doing this practice. And because I'm doing this practice, I am holding myself accountable. But then I was afraid, but I was more afraid that he would hurt these people that I love. And I was noticing that my vulnerability was protecting me. So I stepped forward between us, explained to him that I had not understood that this was a transaction, apologized, and yes, we walked away from it unharmed. Did my vulnerability help someone, or did it put me at risk in the first place? I think it's not what put us at risk in the first place. And I think that maybe I actually was protected in an unfamiliar and very uncomfortable situation. Maybe my willingness to look at him as a human being. He had a cold heart. There was something missing in this man. He stood there looking at these symbols of fame as the goal in life, and handing out something that doesn't make any sense and asking money for it. It was basically a link to a website, a QR code to go to a website where I'm sure they were selling something. But anyway, somehow I felt, I'm still afraid when I talk about this. It rattled me. But I do feel that my willingness to recognize his humanity in that moment helped to de-escalate the situation. Please avoid getting into a situation like that, if you will. I'm going to take a call. If I can, I guess the guys in the studio, you will have to unmute John so that we can hear him, guys, if you don't mind doing that. There we go. Hello, John.
Oh my God, I'm at the nine. I'm at the nine.
Block it. All right, that was no fun. So that's the other kind of thing that happens in our world, is someone shows up to something to talk about humanity, seems to be patient, and then leers at us and does that kind of thing. We are wasn't planning on a sermon. I really was kind of working on what I was going to talk about, and now I guess I know the combination of those two stories: the guy on the street whose name I'll never know, and the guy that just did that. Like for some reason he felt he needed the attention, so he joined our meeting to what I don't even know what to call that. But anyway, we are living in what has often been called the attention economy. People sell attention. They're selling viewers to advertisers. We used to think of it as advertisers are selling a thing, but now we are through the close loop of this process, we're beginning to understand that it is we who are being sold to advertisers. So we seek attention, we seek recognition, we seek to have viewers. That was the end of that story, which I hadn't told earlier because I thought I had an actual question from someone. Is that as I was walking away from this guy on the street, after it de-escalated and we were able to walk away without any further yelling or anything, he had been yelling. I said something to him, well, I hope whatever it is, I don't understand what you're doing here, but I hope it works out for you. Like if you're looking for viewers or you're looking for followers, I hope you get them. And he was enraged at me for saying that. I'm not looking for viewers or followers. I'm just doing my job here, whatever that job is. There is something about standing on a street that you've heard of so many times, the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and seeing it in person and understanding that there is something very impersonal about these little stars in the sidewalk. Yes, a person came while it was being laid in the sidewalk and unveiled and so on. So, you know, they've been there, but so have millions and millions of people in the meantime to take pictures of. I don't know, what is it? It's a little memorial to celebrities. One of the things I kept noticing was how many people have been famous enough to be there that I've never heard of, because fame is fleeting, I guess. And I also noticed that there was something much more interesting to me, the section in front of the Chinese theater where the people put their handprints and footprints and sign the cement before it hardens. That's much more interesting to me because I felt the humanity of the person I saw. That, by the way, did you know that John Wayne seems to have had small feet? I don't get it. But anyway, yeah, none of us could put our foot inside of the John Wayne's boot print. But anyway, so there were things like that brought a human being to life. And that was, to me, very comforting and very interesting. And it caused me to start thinking about, well, Charlie Chaplin, like, what was his actual life like? I've heard things about his biography, and they're very interesting. So that provoked seeing artifacts of a person's physical being in a place, their handprints, their footprints, the silly note that they scrawled. Some of them stars that are still alive, that I know of, that I enjoy their stuff, but they're human, and you see that and feel it there. That kind of offset the rest of it. But the addiction to fame, you find people on the street begging for money. It is, I absolutely will never do. I don't want to sound dismissive, and I'm not being dismissive. People often become addicted to, we think of substance addiction, substance abuse, drugs, alcohol, and find themselves on the street because of that. But there seems to be this attention junkie thing now, this very difficult. I want your attention. I'm going to make money. This is my job. Getting your attention is the coldness I felt when I allowed myself to open to this man's humanity. I had to remember that we teach and that I believe that the spark doesn't go away, but the layers of defense over it. It was as though this man's heart had been paved over. His heart's still in there, it's still beating. The physical heart is, the humanity inside of him is still there. There is still light in there somewhere. But yeah, he was choosing to deaden himself each and every day in this attention economy way. I guess the thing that would most suit a reaction to that would be to seek the capacity for compassion for whatever's going on in this man's life. It doesn't seem like a good place to be, and he didn't seem very happy. He had a hair trigger, and he seemed very easily set off. Yeah. So that was all a divergence from what I was going to talk about, and we have very little time. But I do want to kind of go down a different road here. See, I'm rattled from that guy calling in. I'm sitting here practicing being vulnerable and want this to be a safe space, as they call them these days, a place where I can absolutely just talk about my most vulnerable places. And if anyone joins me, they're going to maybe do that for themselves, or at least acknowledge that that's what we're doing here. And yeah, it's pretty unpleasant to have someone do that. It's also quite unfortunate. So yeah. Give me a minute. I'm going to turn this around, taking a different road because I don't have much time left now that I've gone down that side avenue. I'm going to talk a little bit about my mother, because I've talked about my father on a few occasions here, and my mother was my other parent, go figure. And her impact on me has lasted a lifetime and continues to reveal itself to me over time. When I was a kid, I was the youngest of three, and my brother and sister had gone off to first and second grade. I had a couple of years before I went off to school. And I had this, I think of it as a very magical time when I used to spend time with my mother during the day, and we did things. We went out into the world, and I was her sidekick, and it was all so adventurous and fun because what was I, 3, 4 years old? And my mother used to do this thing. She would point it out to me. We'd be, for example, at the checkout aisle at the grocery store, and the clerk behind the register would be very negative, very very, very like impatient, housing, wanting to give them money. That's not, it costs more than that. Here, I need another quarter from you, whatever, that kind of thing. A quarter bottle bought something in those days. And my mother would exude in those moments calm and love. She had this ability to project over the people in her immediate presence a feeling of, for me, it was, I am seen by my mother. I think that's what other people experienced. Your mother sees you and she loves you. That was this beautiful depth that she had inside of her. It was just absolutely lovely. And we would leave the store in those occasions when someone had been negative and she had done that, and it would always turn the tide. It would always, she would stand there talking for a while. And after we'd leave the store, she would say to me, I wasn't going to leave there and let that, before that person smiled. It's my mom we're talking about, so I'm choking up a little. I wasn't going to leave until that person smiled, until I left them with a smile on their face, I think was her way of putting it, and made them feel good about their day. Now, that could be aggressive, but in my mother's case, it was not aggressive. It was charming, it was beautiful, and seeing it in action was seeing someone who, there's a way to do that where it's like I'm going to joke and you're going to laugh, that kind of thing. That's not what she did. It was different. And you could bring all kind of observations to it. Some people would see it negatively, but I'm telling you, there was this thing that she did where she was indeed spreading joy and love, revealing her own spark. I mean, sometimes she would say, oh, yeah, the person would be grumpy. Oh, and she'd started by saying, oh, I know it's kind of a rainy day out there. It must be hard standing on the register all day on a day like that. Oh, I know it's beautiful out there. It must be difficult to miss out or feel like you're missing out, but I really appreciate that you're doing this. She would turn the tide, and that became her modus operandi, her thing that she was teaching me at that young age, that it is possible for you to touch the people around you. So my homework is going to be to focus on that for the next couple of weeks. When I encounter people, I'm going to try to put a smile on their face. If they're feeling down, I'm not going to aggressively try to make them smile, but I'm going to try to see their humanity and express my own in a way that perhaps brings some calm. Anyway, we're just about out of time. I'm Danielle O'Hallisey. This has been Spark of Humanity, Living Spark, brought to you by the Spark of Humanity Network. Thank you for joining us.